Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a TV series based on S.H.I.E.L.D., comic books by the legendary Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Following an anthology format, the series is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Agent Phil Coulson leads his own team of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to deal with different unusual cases concerning superpowered individuals, alien-related stuff, and such. Since its release in 2012, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. proves that it has been one of Marvel's successful TV series alongside Daredevil and WandaVision. So, without further ado, this is the first 4 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. After the events of the Battle of New York, people have discovered that there are more things in and out of the planet aside from a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist in a metal suit and an unfrozen living advertisement for the American military man from the 40s. Just then, a group called Rising Tide consists of hackers activists, or hacktivists in their own word, is born to reveal all the secrets that the government or different organizations, such as the Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division, also known as S.H.I.E.L.D., are hiding. One day, in East Los Angeles, a man named Mike saves a woman from a burning building after it exploded. While this is happening, a hacktivist named S.H.I.E.L.D. catches it on camera and posts it on different social media platforms. Meanwhile, in Paris, a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent named Grant Ward is on a mission to retrieve a package when another agent notifies him that the Rising Tide leaks the information about the package to the public, advising him to abort the mission. Yet he continues, posing as a waiter to get his target's handprint and opens a secret storage inside his room using it. But just as he gets the package, Ward gets spotted, and that results in a battle, in which Ward has no problem settling down. Some time later, he meets with Agent Maria Hill in her office, where Ward shows her what he retrieved from his mission, a Chitauri neural link. Turns out, Ward's target works for a man named Vanchett, and Hill asks if he has any idea to whom Vanchett is planning to sell the alien technology. Ward doesn't have a clue, and he's more interested to know how the Rising Tide found out about the package and its location. According to Hill, since the Chitauri invasion, people have been aware of the things S.H.I.E.L.D. is supposed to protect them from. Due to that, there are people such as the Rising Tide who will stop at nothing to learn what they are not supposed to learn. At this moment, Ward asks why he was pulled out of Paris, yet Hill casually says he needs to talk to Agent Phil Coulson about it. Hearing this, Ward is shocked because Coulson was killed before in the Battle of New York. And to add to his surprise, Coulson, who is very much alive and well, steps out of the shadow. Seeing him, Ward realizes that director Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., faked Coulson's death to motivate the Avengers into defeating Loki and his army of Chitauri during the Battle of New York. However, Coulson clarifies that he indeed died for a while, and he just gets revived back to life, explaining that after getting out of the ICU, Fury sent him to Tahiti for his full recovery, calling it a magical place. At this time, Coulson shows him the video of Mike online, saying that he is assigned to form a new unit to address different cases such as Mike's, which are people dealing with some things that they should not. At this time, a doctor named Jay Stryton shows up and hands Hill the files of Coulson, Ward, and 2 more people named Fitz and Simmons. He mentions that they are all cleared for the mission, but he advises Coulson to get some more rest. However, Coulson says he had enough rest, telling Hill that she should visit Tahiti sometimes. As he leaves, Hill and Stryton seem to worry about him, as Hill tells the doctor that Coulson should never know the truth about Tahiti. After that, Coulson goes to Agent Melinda, wanting her to join the team, but Melinda doesn't want to go back to fieldwork. She wants to avoid battle as much as she could, but Coulson persuades her that she will just be driving the bus. A little later, Ward finally meets Leo Fitz, the engineer, and Gemma Simmons, the biochem expert, on the bus, which is actually a huge plane that will be their base of operation. When Coulson arrives, he gives Ward a little briefing about the bus. According to him, it was one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s first aircraft bases before the helicarrier was made. May then shows up, surprising Ward as she turns out to be one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s best specialists. She says they already located a member of the Rising Tide, so they should get ready to take off. Seeing Ward's surprised reaction, Coulson points out that she's just their pilot. Meanwhile, in a diner, Mike watches the news that he's being dubbed as the Hooded Hero. And to his surprise, Skye sits in front of him, revealing that she knows that he's the Hooded Hero from the news and that he's in danger, stating organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D. will come looking for him to clean up the mess he made, just like what they had done in the aftermath of the Battle of New York. That is why she suggests that he should come out to the public as a hero before S.H.I.E.L.D. finds him, so they cannot do anything bad to him. However, Mike's more busy looking for a job, so he declines, leaving the diner. Yet, he doesn't notice that Skye manages to steal his driver's license. Skye then goes back to her van/house/workplace to create another video, challenging organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D. to stop her in the Rising Tide. And just like that, Coulson and Ward are already at her doorstep. They take Skye to the bus and interrogate her about the hooded hero. In turn, she insists that she knows nothing about it and points out that S.H.I.E.L.D is the one who has a database for such information, saying that she knows that they have been covering up some anomalies like New Mexico, Project Pegasus, and the Centipede as well. Hearing this, Ward silently questions Coulson about Centipede, but he has no idea as well. The interrogation continues, but they get nothing from Skye, aside from her constant arguing with Ward. Because of that, Coulson talks to Ward outside, telling him that he needs to cool down on Skye because she's an asset to them. Just then, he reveals to Ward that they don't know anything about Skye and that never happened until now. As they go back to the interrogation room, Coulson suddenly injects a truth serum into Ward. To gain Skye's trust, he allows her to question Ward for everything she wants to know about S.H.I.E.L.D, risking everything on this move of his. Concurrently, Mike is on the phone with a doctor to ask if he can go public with his new superpowers, thinking that it will help him and his son financially. As it turns out, his super strength is caused by a centipede-like device in his arm. However, the doctor prohibits him from doing so, and this disappoints Mike. Frustrated, Mike goes to the factory where he used to work to ask the factory foreman for another chance, yet he gets rejected there as well. This serves as the last straw for Mike to lose his cool, causing him to hurt the foreman. Some time later, he visits the woman he saved at the hospital. As it turns out, they already knew each other because the woman is Dr. Debbie of Centipede and is the one who gave him the centipede-like device. Debbie scolds him for exposing the program, so she tells him that he needs to disappear as soon as possible. Going back to the bus, Skye has just finished interrogating Ward when Coulson shows her the news about Mike's rampage at the factory. With that, she finally cooperates with them to capture Mike for his own good because she believes that he's a good man. Using Mike's driver's license, they collect every detail they need to learn about him. Fitz and Simmons, who came from the blast site earlier, also show what they recover from the surveillance camera of the building, but it's very damaged. Luckily, Skye has the audio file as she was also surveilling the lab before the explosion happened. Due to that, May takes her to her van and she sends the audio file as well as everything she has on the centipede to Fitz. All the while, Simmons examines the alien device that they also recovered from the site and discovers that it has the properties of both gamma radiation and super soldier serum. Not long after, Fitz finishes all the syncing of his and Skye's data, so he activates the hologram and they finally have a clearer image of what truly happened in the lab. There, they see that a man is angrily looking for a doctor, referring to Debbie. At this time, they notice the centipede-like device in the man's arm and immediately realize that it's the same as the one Mike has. Later on, they are shocked to see that the cause of the explosion was the angry man himself, as the centipede-like device turns out to also have extremists aside from the mentioned superpowered properties earlier. Thinking about Mike's son, Coulson orders Fitz and Simmons to come up with a solution that doesn't involve killing Mike in the process. Meanwhile, Skye and May are about to get back to the bus when Mike attacks May and hitches a ride on Skye's van along with his son Ace. He orders her to delete every piece of information about him in the government's database and to drive them to the train station. Mike asks if she can really do it, to which she assures him that she already did it to someone before, referring to herself. A little later, May regains consciousness and alerts Coulson about what happened to her and Skye. Fortunately, Skye sends them the coordinates of their current location. With that, the team immediately goes to the station and Coulson tries to talk to Mike, hoping to calm him down. However, the thought of Skye's betrayal pisses him off, so he drags her and his son inside the station. Acting quickly, Skye picks up a fight with a gang to distract Mike, allowing her to escape. Coulson also comes across the running Ace and puts him in the care of some police officers. A fight then breaks out, but to make matters worse, Centipede joins the chaos and sends a hitman dressed up as a police officer to take out Mike. As Mike escapes, he catches up to Skye and takes her upstairs. Coulson then reminds Ward to only shoot Mike if the situation requires it. Shortly after, the hitman catches up to Mike and Skye, managing to shoot him and causing him to fall to the ground floor. The hitman is about to shoot Skye next, but May arrives on time to take him down. At this time, Mike stands up and sees Coulson approaching him and putting his gun down. Yet he knows that Ward is on standby, ready to shoot him anytime. Coulson talks to him, appealing to his humanity that he should allow them to help him. And just as he is about to stand down, Ward shoots him with a night-night rifle, a gun created by Fitz and Simmons that has a bullet that calms the extremists inside Mike's body. After a few days, Skye and Coulson visit Ace to tell him that he will be with his father soon. On their way out, Coulson asks if she wants to take up his offer to join the team, saying that her expertise will be a great help to their missions. At this point, Sky is still in doubt, but as Coulson receives a call from Ward who tells him that they have an S.H.I.E.L.D situation, he leaves her only 10 minutes to decide if she's in or not. And with that, Coulson's car transforms into a hovercraft, blasting their way back to the bus. Not long after, they reach the airfield and Sky finally decides to join the team. However, this doesn't sit well with Ward because he doesn't trust her and May seconds Ward's concern. In turn, Coulson says she's not recruited to be a new S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, at least not yet, but as a consultant. After that, he meets with Sky and informs her that they will head to Peru where the S.H.I.E.L.D is located. Asked about it, Coulson explains that an S.H.I.E.L.D is an object of unknown origin and their mission is to determine if it's a threat or not, revealing that their last S.H.I.E.L.D is Mjolnir, the Hammer of Thor. Some time later, they reach the Incan archaeological site and an archaeologist greets them. Inside the temple, they find the S.H.I.E.L.D and Fitz and Simmons start scanning it using their drones. Simmons says that the device dates to 1,500 years old and thinks that it's alien, but Fitz points out that the craftsmanship screams German. However, what scares them more is that it has tesseract energy, which is far more dangerous than a nuclear bomb. Suddenly, they are attacked by the Peruvian National Police. Ward and May manage to take down some of them, but there are too many opponents. Luckily, Coulson knows the National Police's comandante, Camilla, so the fighting stops. Yet, the peace is interrupted once more when the anti-mining rebels attack this time. With a real threat around, the team and Camilla, along with her men, are forced to bring the S.H.I.E.L.D back to the bus while engaging in the crossfire. Luckily, the team gets into the bus safe and sound, but Camilla loses some of her men. Coulson also apologizes to May that she has to engage in a fight earlier, but she just ignores him. Afterward, he finds his team screaming at each other. Fitz and Simons are mad about Ward's rushed decision to take the S.H.I.E.L.D on the truck in the middle of a shootout despite the threat it poses. On the other hand, Ward is pissed that aside from fighting the enemy, he still needs to look after Sky, Fitz, and Simmons because they are not combat trained. Meanwhile, Sky is just stressed out because she's not used to being in the middle of the crossfire. Seeing this, Coulson tells them that they need to work out their relationship, saying that they should use their expertise to deal with their interpersonal problem. After that, he meets with Camilla and gives her a tour of the bus. Not long after, Sky decides to talk to Ward, knowing that they haven't really been on good terms since they meet. Sitting for a bottle of alcohol, Sky explains that she and the Rising Tide are around for one common goal, which is freedom of information. Comparing him to Ward, she says he's a one-man team with a 100% solution on his shoulders all the time. But they, on the Rising Tide, have collective solutions until they come up with a 100% way to solve the problem. Meanwhile, Coulson is showing his collections to Camilla, but she seems more interested in getting hot with him. He notices this and says she's not that kind of woman, so he knows that something wrong is going to happen on the plane. Just then, Camilla's men attack everyone on board. Ward manages to put up a fight, but the rest are captured easily, even May, who was caught off guard because she was wearing the headset, not noticing the sleeping gas released in the cockpit. Coulson also gets out of Camilla's grasp, but upon seeing Sky, Fitz, and Simmons being held, Coulson and Ward surrender. After that, the team is thrown in the cargo hold while Coulson is with Camilla, who reveals to him that the S.H.I.E.L.D is a Hydra weapon that was hidden in Peru when Hydra fell. Now the government is planning to use it against the anti-mining rebels so they can finally end the uprising. She then proceeds to mock Coulson for bringing such a small team with him, but he assures her that they're all good. At the same time, everyone at the cargo is blaming themselves for what happened, except Sky because she blames May that she stayed in the cockpit and didn't help fight Camilla's men. Hearing this, Fitz says she's just a woman from the administration. But Ward reveals to them that May is the legendary agent called the Cavalry. At this time, May wakes up and tells them not to call her by that name. Knowing that Camilla will kill them no matter what, Ward takes a page in Sky's book and tells them that they just need to come up with small solutions for each of their problems until they solve everything. With that, they finally begin to cooperate and form a plan together, starting with May breaking her wrist to get out of restraint and taking down the officer guarding them. Then, she frees the four and rams a vehicle to the lab's door. Afterward, Fitz and Simmons activate their drones to trigger the S.H.I.E.L.D, blasting a hole in the side of the plane. Luckily, Coulson sees the drone beforehand, so he ties himself to the pole, preventing him from getting sucked outside the plane, and also holding on to Camilla so she doesn't either. Ward, on the other hand, deals with the soldiers while Sky, Fitz, and Simmons take care of the S.H.I.E.L.D. However, the pressure makes it hard for them to move, especially for Ward, who's fighting multiple men. Just then, a safety pamphlet gets into Sky's face, giving her a bright idea. Acting quickly, she releases a life raft, sealing the hole on the side of the plane, finally stabilizing their flight. Sometime later, they finally reach their destination, the slingshot. As they settle down, Ward comments that Sky has the potential to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Hearing this, May suggests that he should be her supervising officer, and Ward takes up the challenge unexpectedly. Shortly after, they all watch as a rocket sends the 084 into space. While everyone is busy, somebody messages Sky's phone asking her status, to which she replies that she's in. For their next mission, Coulson's team will have to rescue Dr. Hall, a S.H.I.E.L.D. scientist and a former professor of Fitz and Simmons. He was kidnapped during transport while an unseen entity thrashes several S.H.I.E.L.D. vehicles. He cannot share much about the attackers as he really saw nothing back then, yet he's sure that somebody from inside S.H.I.E.L.D. leaked their route, as the kidnappers know where and when they will be at a certain place. Simmons then calls them on, showing them the spot where gravity works differently. At this time, they recover a ring-like device that messes up gravity. Later on, Coulson orders May to check on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s communication logs to see if there is a mole inside the agency, while Fitz and Simmons examine the device. The next day, Coulson and Ward meet with a man who owns the excavator used by the kidnapper to rip open the container where Hall was and discover that he was paid in gold bars. Taking the bars to Fitz and Simmons, their investigation leads them to Ian Quinn, the CEO of Quinn Worldwide, which oversees different mining operations worldwide. Speaking of Quinn, it is revealed that he and Hall are old friends. He explains that he doesn't kidnap, but rescues him from S.H.I.E.L.D. instead. As it turns out, they're in the Republic of Malta, and because of some of the country's policies, S.H.I.E.L.D. and other organizations cannot touch or even reach them. At this time, Quinn shows him a big ring-like device, which is a generator for gravitonium, an extremely rare element to which Hall devoted most of his life. It's what thrashed the S.H.I.E.L.D.'s vehicles before, evident by the small ring-like device that Simmons found. Going back to the bus, the team is currently deliberating how to rescue Hall. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are not allowed in Malta and Quinn's compound is surrounded by deadly laser barriers, Sky volunteers to crash Quinn Worldwide's annual shareholders gathering that will happen in Quinn's place. At first, they don't agree, saying that she has no experience in infiltration missions, but Sky already hacks her way inside Quinn Worldwide, inviting herself to attend their party. Left with no other choice, they agree for her to go, but Ward gives her more training, like how to disarm someone with a gun. After that, they brief her on what she should do and give her a device disguised as a compact mirror. Fitz and Simmons explain that she needs to put it down inside Quinn's room for the system to reboot, and it will give Fitz time to access the barrier for Coulson and Ward to enter the compound without getting killed by the laser. Then the two of them will rescue Hall and extract Sky as quickly as they can. A few days have passed, and the time for Quinn Worldwide's annual shareholder gathering begins. Sky immediately makes her way to Quinn, but he turns out to be expecting her. He states that the two of them are like-minded and he wants her to work with him. Not expecting this, Sky is stunned as the man leaves. A little later, Quinn does his speech, so Sky sneaks inside his house to get inside his office, but she is caught by Quinn himself. Busted, Sky has no other choice but to tell Quinn the truth by writing on a piece of paper that S.H.I.E.L.D. is listening. With that, she gets the man's trust and he takes her inside the office, where she sets down the compact mirror, triggering the system of the whole compound to restart. Then, Fitz does his thing and opens the laser barrier, allowing Coulson and Ward to get in before they get caught by Quinn's guards. Just then, Quinn is alerted of the security breach and he realizes that Sky tricked him. Pissed, he points a gun at her. Concurrently, Coulson finds Hall, but he doesn't want to go with him. At this time, May discovers that the mole who leaked Hall's route before was Hall himself, meaning he purposely wants Quinn to capture him. According to him, he knew before then that Quinn finally got his hands on gravitonium and that he wants to exploit its uses. So he made sure he gets kidnapped, planning to use the gravitonium generator to sink the whole compound into the bottom of the ocean so he can stop Quinn's evil plan. As Hall powers up the generator, it starts to mess up the gravity in the compound. While this is happening, Quinn interrogates Sky about what S.H.I.E.L.D. wants, but the little quake caused by the gravitational shift distracts him, allowing Sky to steal a gun as Ward taught her to. However, she still cannot pull the trigger, so she just jumps out off the balcony to escape. Quinn also realizes what caused the quake, so he quickly orders his men to prepare the chopper so he can run away. Shortly after, Sky comes across the guards, just in time for Ward to save her, and they go to Coulson and Hall afterward. At the lab, Coulson appreciates Hall's sacrificial play, but he insists that there are a lot of innocent people on the compound. However, Hall reasons that they're collateral damage to save billions of other people. Just then, Fitz and Simmons tell Coulson that the generator will stop if something manages to trigger a chemical reaction to its core. Thinking about it, he tries to reason with Hall for the last time, but he's determined to continue his plan. Left with no other options, Coulson shoots the glass beneath them and grabs on a wire while Hall falls to the core of the gravitonium generator. The gravitonium then devours Hall, triggering a chemical reaction with his body and resulting in it stopping. After the incident, they store the gravitonium in a highly secured vault, whereas Coulson ensures that no one will get their hands in it, just like Hall wanted. However, Hall turns out to be still alive, fighting his way out of the gravitonium as much as he can. Just a few weeks later, Coulson's team receives a new mission about a robbery of diamonds worth millions in Sweden. 55 military men dressed in identical outfits were hired by a gem broker. Each of them was randomly assigned a briefcase and sent along 25 different routes. Yet, the thief managed to steal the one briefcase with the diamonds, and this is not the first time that it happened. S.H.I.E.L.D then quickly scans different social media platforms until they find a picture of a woman who matches the suspect's description. Seeing her, Coulson says she's their thief, revealing that he was the one who trained her. She is Akela Amador, an ex-agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. who went missing after a failed mission on Vanchat. This is also the reason why he picked the case, so he can settle things with her as he feels responsible for what she turns out. With that, they head to Belarus where they start searching for Amador. Meanwhile, Amador meets with the buyers of the diamonds that she now hides inside soluble golf balls. Her payment isn't money, but a white access card instead. Going back to the team, Coulson and Ward go to the hotel where they think Amador is, while S.H.I.E.L.D, Fitz, and Simmons are left in the van to search for Amador and her potential buyer remotely. But not long after the two are gone, S.H.I.E.L.D finds a server that has encrypted signals in it. Decrypting it, they find what seems to be a first-person's point of view feed of a van. Then it becomes an X-ray vision, and they finally realize that it was Amador all along, watching over the three of them. Suddenly, she hits their van with a truck, rolling them over to the side of the road. After all of them go back to the bus, S.H.I.E.L.D manages to recover the data of Amador's encrypted broadcast, and they start watching her. At this time, they realize that the camera is in Amador's eye. According to Fitz, it is not a technology developed by S.H.I.E.L.D. May points out that she's a weapon, hence they need to take her out. She's about to call S.H.I.E.L.D for help, but Coulson stops her, saying that their team can handle Amador. They start arguing and even Ward joins in, but they're interrupted by S.H.I.E.L.D, pointing out that Amador is asking permission to sleep. Just then, Coulson realizes that she's being controlled, making him want to help her more. Because of that, he orders the team to take turns in watching the feed to look for something that might reveal her location. A little later, Coulson finds Fitz sleeping and asks where May is. As they play back the feed, Coulson sees a receipt and knows that May has found out Amador's whereabouts and has already headed there. This turns out to be true as she's now talking to Amador, saying that she will bring her in. However, Amador says her handler will rather kill her, revealing that her eye has a failsafe if such an occasion happens. Because of that, Amador fights her way out, but she's no match for May, who keeps her distracted until Coulson and Ward arrive, shooting her with a night-night pistol. When she wakes up, she finds herself in the interrogation room with Coulson, telling her not to worry about her handler. As it turns out, they created a glass that transmits to the same encrypted signal that Amador uses. So, her handler is seeing that she's completing her next mission, not knowing that it's actually Ward doing it. Coulson assures her that she will be safe and they will remove the implant in her eye. At this time, she reveals to him that she was caught by Vanchat during their mission because she didn't follow the protocol. She was then in prison for quite some time and was just pulled out when they put the mechanical eye in her skull. Since then, she started doing missions for them against her will because of the failsafe in her eye. After getting some description of the handler from Amador, Coulson sends her to the lab so Fitz and Simmons can start operating on her eye. At the same time, Ward and S.H.I.E.L.D head to Totoro building to do Amador's mission, while Coulson and May are standing by to locate the handler. When Ward enters the final room, he is kind of confused as to what to do. But upon looking at a certain writing, which seems to be a blueprint on the board, the handler confirms that it's a mission complete. This last message then determines the location of the handler and May directs Coulson toward him. With that, both Ward and Coulson spring into action as Ward does his best to escape Todorov building while Coulson looks for the handler. But despite Ward's successful escape, Coulson comes to a dead end when the handler dies right in front of him. It is then revealed that the handler is being controlled as well this whole time. Yet, Fitz and Simmons finally remove the kill switch in Amador's eye, just in time before it explodes, so it's still more of a successful mission than failed one. The fourth episode ends with Amateur finally sleeping in peace after years of being watched and controlled, while Fitz and Sky team up to beat Ward in a card game using the Amateur glasses, only to end up losing.